This is a team that, not that I have any hate towards them, but I had a lot of criticism. I thought that they're a very talented team, but they're lacking in a lot of areas. One area that they were lacking the most was defense. But last season, the San Diego Chargers went 10-7. They made it to the playoffs.
LA Chargers.
That's right. LA Chargers, excuse me.
Time.
Made it to the playoffs with a 10-7 record, but they decided to move on from offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi and moved on to former offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, Kellen Moore. Gentlemen, Sora, we'll start off with you. Let me ask you, do you think that the Los Angeles Chargers offensive coordinator can take Justin Herbert on to the next level?
That's hard to say, and the only reason being is because Justin Herbert's already at a very high level. I mean, I'm sure a lot of us are going to have him very high on the quarterback list, so we'll get to the explanations there. But I mean, that dude's already got, so much skill, so much accolades. I feel like the main thing that is holding Herbert back is kind of Brandon Staley, and just the fact that his receivers can't stay healthy.
Sure.
I mean, somehow if Kellen Moore is able to, keep Mike Williams healthy, Keenan Allen healthy, then yeah, he'll help take Justin Herbert. I think Herbert will improve on the games, but I mean, again, just receivers got to stay healthy.
Dante, let me ask you. We've had the discussion about Justin Herbert. We've heard Sora talk glowingly about Herbert, but the one thing Herbert doesn't have is many playoff appearances. He always comes short. Now, we all understand there's injuries to the wide receiving core, but as I stated, one of the bright spots to last year was that offense. Joe Lombardi did the best he could do with what was going on, but the Chargers decided to move on. Do you think Kellen Moore is the guy to take Justin Herbert onto the next level?
It's hard to say, but I think with that, how much flack that Dak Prescott does get is because of the fact that Dak Prescott. Well, it's that, Dak Prescott plays very reserved. I mean, if you look at his stats over the years, they're actually not bad. And I think that's where Dak Prescott gets a really bad rap, but he's not. Oh my Lord.
Sora.
We're going back to Will Levis here in the garbage can.
I was working on it and it wasn't working. But yeah, it had to be done.
Oh my goodness.
But I think it's hard to compare the two because you have a guy that legitimately will play through injury in Justin Herbert. You have a guy that legitimately will throw the ball down the field and take chances as long as the play calling accounts for that. And I think Justin Herbert's been kind of strangleheld in that regard, because you see some games they just let it fly, and then other games where it's just so many design passes going to Austin Eckler that you leave yourself questioning if he's really that good of a quarterback in some moments. But I mean, everybody knows how I feel about Justin Herbert, and here's a recipe for disaster right here. You have Kellen Moore, who had that type of quarterback, a reserve guy that played with the Cowboys, that was, by all regards, is a very popular team, and they always expect a lot of them, even though they haven't sniffed the Super Bowl in God knows how long.
28 years.
Counting, buddy.
I was about to say,
counting.
ask Vic. He does a yearly live
Hashtag
stream.
28 years of counting.
I live in that Metroplex, so
That too.
Yeah.
Vic keeps
So-
count. I know he
Desolate area.
and it's so amazing.
So here's the recipe that I'm talking about. Kellen Moore, to me, is going to get more reins over the play calling. He's going to shape Justin Herbert in a way where he's like, all right, everything that I've been wanting to do, you have the talent and more to get this done. We brought, so many different weapons in from the draft. And now we're to the point where not only Kellen Moore has a lot to prove, but Justin Herbert has a lot to prove, because a lot of people will not put him in their top 5 or their top 6 because he hasn't won hasn't won a playoff game yet. I believe that they're going to get there, and we'll get to our ratings later on, in the next couple of weeks on how we rank these teams. But I believe not only Justin Herbert's going to get his first win of the year, I think Kellen Moore is going to be looked at in a different light as well. And think about it, the redemption arc for both of them, a guy that I don't really say that it was all his fault on what happened with the Cowboys, but now he's going to another team with a ton of talent that he's going to want to prove that he's legit in this league. Justin Herbert's going to have a lot to prove that he's a legit top 5 to maybe top 3 quarterback as far as talent, and that is a recipe for disaster for everybody else in the league. So that's just me having high expectations for both of them. I actually thought it was a really good hire because of those two things. And I just don't think that he's going to have his guns in the holster the whole time. I think what they're going to do is say, you do what you need to do. You got Justin Herbert. You got these weapons. You had a lot of success with the Cowboys, regardless of what everybody wants to say. But you got guys who legitimately want to be playmakers all the time. And there's no bigger motivation outside. And I understand you play for the Cowboys and stuff, but there's no bigger motivation to want to win games and want to stomp a mud hole in people with having a top 5 quarterback, 2 top 5 quarterbacks in the same division, him and Patrick Mahomes, trying to go against each other. And this year the Chargers are going to want to prove that they're the better team. So they're going to take a lot of chances. I can almost guarantee you that, but they're not going to want to be looked at second fiddle. And that's what's going to be a dangerous thing for the Chargers this year. It's either going to garner them a lot of success or it's going to be a lot of failure too, because it's hard to compete with Patrick Mahomes and what the Chiefs are doing. And nobody's saying that Brandon Staley's on the same level as Andy Reid. And I don't think he's going to be their coach if they don't end up making the playoffs or if they lose a playoff game. I don't think he's going to be their coach anymore, especially if Kellen Moore and Justin Herbert have a ton of success together. I would almost go and say if they have a lot of success together, Kellen Moore might be introduced as their new head coach.
Yeah.
Well, let's keep it a buck. Like I said before, the only bright spot to the Chargers last season was their offense, and that was due to Joe Lombardi. For whatever reason, he was the guy that got fired when their defense looked like crap.
I agree. Yeah. I agree 100%. But I just think two young guys that have a lot to prove. And I think they're going to be top 5 on a lot of categories this year. And Justin Herbert might be in the MVP conversation, then lose that playoff game. If you don't think Brandon Staley might not get fired and he might get promoted instead, I think it's a real possibility.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I'm in full agreement on that one.
Jeff, let me ask you. Kellen Moore, former Dallas Cowboy coordinator. Now, while in Dallas, he was really working with one hand tied behind his back because he wasn't even running his own offensive system. He was still running Jason Garrett's offensive system that the Cowboys are still running now with Mike McCarthy. We'll see how that goes for them. But for Kellen Moore, he's finally set free. He's giving what considerably top 5 quarterback. Do you think he's the guy to get Justin Herbert to the next level?
Justin Herbert to the next level, yes. I still have concerns about the defense, but in terms of let's see, Kellen Moore was the offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys for 4 years, right? In the first year as a coordinator, the team was ranked 6th in points and 1st in the passing yards. 2020, yeah, Dak got hurt. Okay, yeah, we scratched that one. Then he came back 1st in points, 1st in yards. Then previous year, 4th in points, and then top 11. They've always had a pretty stoked offense ever since Kellen Moore has taken over. And that's with Dak. And let's be honest, if I had to choose between Dak Prescott and Justin Herbert, I'm choosing Justin Herbert. No questions whatsoever. Wide receiver core, besides CeeDee Lamb, Keenan Allen, or Mike Wood, give me the Chargers receiving core.
I think Dak Prescott has proven exactly what his cap and his ceiling and his floor are. It just is what it is.
I think
who Dak Prescott reminds me of in the way he plays. He plays a lot like Donovan McNabb. He always plays
facts. It's a great comparison.
He'll throw it low where he thinks the receiver can only get the ball. He's very apprehensive like Donovan, and like Donovan, that was his biggest issue. Sometimes you just got to let trust in your receivers. You have CeeDee Lamb, one of the best receivers in the league. Let it fly. Just let it go.
His biggest issue was the Chunky Campbell soup commercial. That was his biggest issue.
And Jeff, not to cut you off from your point, but I just want to make this clear now that I'm thinking about it. Isn't it crazy how Dak Prescott, they're making every excuse in the world for this dude to be good, and he's arguably top 10. I think he's around top. He's in the top 15 conversation for sure. Yeah. But the thing is we make so many excuses for him. But when Tony Romo was their quarterback, who was the better quarterback, I never seen these excuses out of people that they get for Dak Prescott.
I have the answer for that.
What's that?
It's the Dallas Cowboys. This is a machine that hasn't been really moving for the past 30 years, and we still need something to generate some interest. So that's why we're always going to say best team in America. That's why you always hear them in the conversation. But yet, when you look at the talent on the field with Dak Prescott, you said it. Tony Romo got trashed for what he did. Where was Tony Romo drafted? Sixth round, correct? He was, matter of fact, no, he was undrafted out of Illinois.
He was undrafted.
He was Illinois. Dak Prescott, now he's a 4th round quarterback, but from the onset when he got drafted, Jerry Jones put a lot behind him, saying he was going to be our starter. Yep. He put a lot of attention behind Dak Prescott. He put too much into him. Jones don't look stupid for nobody. Dak Prescott, he will die on that cross. Again, Dak Prescott, I think, is a very good quarterback. But I think is the situation in Dallas with so many cooks in the kitchen, that'll mess anybody up, whether the coaching staff or the quarterback.
Yeah, and literally you have another problem I have with them. I've always said this, and I've been on record. They will not win enough. They won't even come close to a Super Bowl as long as Jerry Jones is still the GM and the owner at the same time. You need to hire a GM.
They won't until the entire Jones family is out.
I'll give you a hot take. If you were to have Dak Prescott on the Minnesota Vikings, I would take the Vikings so much more seriously.
Absolutely. You know what? That's not even a hot take. I mean, Kirk Cousins and Dak. I mean, literally, give me Dak any day of the week.
Then I would literally consider, like, all right, I can see them being Super Bowl contenders.
But back to that question about Kellen Moore taking Herbert to the next level. One, Kellen Moore is not in that circus of the Dallas Cowboys. He doesn't have that much pressure. Like Chargers, they don't have as much pressure as the Dallas Cowboys, for better or worse. And now he's got an offense where he can cook, he can make his own scheme. Absolutely, he can do it. And Justin Herbert, it's not the Chargers it's not the offense that's the problem. It's staying healthy in the defensive side of the ball.
No, this is not what Chris. This is not what we're saying at all.
No,
I'm glad you're supposed to believe in whoever your quarterback is and whoever your starter is. I'm saying they've given an excuse for Dak when we never heard these things out of Tony Romo, who is statistically a better quarterback. I mean, Tony Romo he was one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. And because he played for the Cowboys, they've set Dak up for more success than they have with Tony when they had Tony Romo. You think of Tony Romo had CeeDee Lamb and Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard and Michael Gallup, and the best weapon he had was like Jason Witten for the longest time.
And Des Bryant.
And Des Bryant was on and off too.
But there's only been one quarterback in Dallas history that's been set up for success like Dak, and that'd have been Troy Aikman. When Troy Aikman came in, Jimmy Johnson came in and had a draft pick frenzy. He was making banging picks, banger after banger. And that's what Dallas when Dak came in, Dak had the best offensive line in the league.
Exactly, Big. That too.
Dak started that year. Many people believe that the Cowboys would have made the Super Bowl had Tony Romo been allowed to start. Then you follow that up with Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Dalton Schultz. Jesus, how many names can I mention? And we're not even talking about what happened on the defensive side of the ball. All that talent.
I'm telling you, when Zeke got drafted, I was saying this to Don for years. If Zeke was on another team that was not called the Cowboys with the number 1 rated offensive line for years, he would have been a 900 to 1,000 yard rusher. I'm telling you, that would have been he would have been okay. He wouldn't have been as elite as he was like his first 4 years in the league. And Dak, for him to be, he was protected for a very, very long time. If Tony Romo had half of what he had, bro, they probably would have been in the NFC Championship a couple times, if not in the Super Bowl at least one time. And all of us are not Cowboys fans here whatsoever, but at least we can all acknowledge that if Tony Romo had these things, it would have been pretty crazy for the Cowboys, and we wouldn't be talking about the Cowboys in the light that we are now. They've given every excuse in the book for this dude. You don't walk around in this league no more trying to get all these excuses that you get. Like, and I think people are starting to get tired of it now. I mean, it just is what it is. Especially when Jalen Hurts did what he did last year. It is what it is.
I think Dallas wastes more time trying to justify their picks and try to put so much behind those picks to try to make them look better than actually just trying to get the team as a whole to get better.
Okay, then if not Dak, how many quarterbacks in league total could you put on the Cowboys this moment and win a Super Bowl? Mahomes and who? Right now,
Right now,
Well, hold on.
Mahomes,
There's a lot that
Herbert.
goes into that too, because you got to look at the coaching staff. Mike McCarthy isn't the best coaches in the world. That's another thing that they have going for them. They only won
Wait a second. He won a Super Bowl. Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl, though.
with Aaron Rodgers.
It don't matter. He still won a Super Bowl.
Yes,
Yeah, he went.
he went.
I'm just saying, he won a Super Bowl. That's what it is. So technically, he had the better. Dak has the better coach right now too. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Who had a better coach between him and Justin Herbert? Of course, we're talking about Anthony Lynn. Didn't know what he was doing. Then you go to Brandon Staley, who talks a good game, talks about the importance of running the ball, but then doesn't run the ball when you need to.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about the quarterbacks, like you said. I think Mahomes for sure. I think you could put him on any team. If Lamar Jackson was on this team with that offensive line,
Josh Allen.
two to three, Josh Allen, Burrow for sure.
I'll
throw Jalen Hurts in there.
Rodgers.
Tua. I'll throw Tua in there. I don't care.
He wouldn't be as concussed as much.
I think CeeDee Lamb would used properly if Tua was there.
I said last year that he was going to have over 1,000 receptions, 1,000 yards, and be the best receiver on that team, and he did exactly that. Even Justin Fields, Key. Talk your talk.
Even with what we said earlier, switching, you could even put. You could
I hate
argue,
to say it, but let's be honest.
Kirk Cousins.
Kyler Murray.
Kirk Cousins, Kirk Cousins, yes.
Kirk Cousins, yes. Kyler Murray, I can't co-sign that.
I'll co-sign with Kyler.
I can't co-sign that one.
I can't do it. I can't.
If Kyler puts his mind to it, he could be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Now, that's the big issue.
The problem is if.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're just naming quarterbacks that could sniff it. I mean, Matt Stafford probably would have. Think about Matt Stafford with that offensive line.
David Carr?
You mean Derek? I don't think his brother's playing anymore.
But he still got it.
Russell Wilson never had an offensive line, and he still won a Super Bowl.
I'm iffy on Russ.
But he never had an offensive line, though, and he still won a Super Bowl. He went twice.
Deshaun Watson?
Hold on. There's people saying he had a decent offensive line. They had some guard issue, but they had a decent offensive line. I would say
offensive line was. Russell Wilson was Bo Nix in the NFL.
Come on, man.
Running for his life and still made his offensive line look good.
The way he was running if they had a bad offensive line.
Yeah. So what y'all are saying is minus QB, the quarterbacks are the best in the NFL?
The Cowboys are the best. Minus quarterback, the Cowboys are the best in the NFL.
Now, I would say this. The Cowboys have incredible talent on that team. What they have not going for them, what they have lacking is their coaching and their quarterback's confidence. They changed those two things. Oh, and let's not be honest. We're not even talking about the wall that is Jerry Jones.
I'm about to say.
Let's make it clear.
Things, and you have what exactly those three things I said you removed is what exactly Dallas had back in the 90s, and that's why they won 3 Super Bowls.